Technology and COVID-19 has changed the game on how people apply or interview for a job. Your online presence, which is your personal branding, it's been evaluated before you even get to the interview. So, how do you make your personal branding relevant or competitive in a virtual world? So, stay tuned. I will be talking to a talent acquisition guru and personal branding, and she will be giving us some tools and some tips on how we stay relevant. I'm your host, Ms. Entertainment. Let's talk about it. This is your girl, Ms. Entertainment. I am your host for Let's Talk About It. So, welcome to my world. We're getting ready to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. She has over 20 years of experience helping clients identify key talent across diverse disciplines and industries. Please welcome Amy Loudermilk.
Well, hello, Miss Amy. How are you doing? I am so glad you are talking with me today.
I'm great, thank you. Very excited to be here as well.
Good. So we're just going to jump right on in.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about personal branding. Why is that important?
Well, let's back up a second and say, what is your personal brand? So your personal brand is really kind of your story. It is what makes you unique. What is it that you're offering the world? What do you want to be known to the world as? And it gives you a great opportunity to really tell your story in many different ways across many different platforms. And in today's market, especially in regards to employment, it is really important because companies are getting creative in the ways that they're finding talent. And it gives you an opportunity to maybe move into spaces that you don't get to in your traditional job. It tells the story about yourself. What do you care about? What are you passionate about? And it's really your way to put that out there to the world. So it's beyond the resume. It's kind of the resume 2.0, if you will. And it's just a great way to stand out amongst a really heavily saturated talent market.
Okay, gotcha. So let's go back to the question then. Why do I care? I mean, why is it so important nowadays in this virtual world?
Well, especially because you don't have those day-to-day interactions. You're not out and about socially. You're not in Starbucks. You're not going to conferences live and in person. And so networking gets really, really harder. And one thing that everyone has done over the last several years is really lean into online platforms, lean into social media, but especially during this year where most of the country and the world has been quarantined at home. And so establishing those connections is really important. Secondly, personal branding, because it should be your story, and your story is going to be unique, and you're going to have a very unique audience. And so how do you reach that audience? You may be trying to reach people that are not in your day-to-day circle. You may be trying to reach people on a global scale. And not very many people can just go hop on a jet plane and travel around the country meeting those folks or travel around the world. So it's a great way to get your story out to a very large number of people in a very quick way and be seen by people that wouldn't traditionally see you just if you're in your everyday world of get up, get in my car, go to the office, come home, maybe participate in, like I said, different conferences or professional organizations. It just opens you up to much more visibility.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So how do I get started? What's one way to, if I don't have like a real social footprint, what is one way to get started so I can have a personal brand so I can compete?
Absolutely. So one thing that I would say, where you kind of start, right? Where's that point that I jump into this is make a list. Like sit down and write out the things that you have specific talent in, you have specific gifts in. And then look at those and say, which of these things is something I'm really passionate about? What are the things that I want to be known for? And then break it down into many different pieces. So number one's really identifying what is my uniqueness? What makes me special? What is it that I have to offer? What do I want to be known for? Think about what is your mindset? What's your focus? What are your values? Is it big picture thinking? Is it delivery of service? Are you setting a level of service? And do you want to make a difference? And what difference are you going to be making? What kind of value are you going to be bringing to that specific audience where that talent is needed? There's lots of great resources online. Google search is absolutely great. Just type in personal branding, you're going to get thousands and thousands of hits. One article I particularly really like is out there called The 10 Rules of Personal Branding. It was put out on Forbes. It's a really great article to kind of help people get started, giving you some great examples. But again, it's really starts with that self-reflection.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. So let me ask you this. So we know it's important. How important is it for a hiring manager? Do they really truly look at your social footprint before even looking at your resume or looking deeper into bringing you in as an interview? How important is that from a hiring perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that you are doing with your personal brand is you are really distinguishing yourself as an expert in many ways. You're wanting your name to become synonymous with X. And when you're thinking about your audience, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be coming for you. They're going to be looking for that X factor, right? And especially when it comes to hiring, because whether it's a traditional company where you're trying to get in with a recruiter who would ultimately pass you on to a hiring manager, or whether it's a client, because maybe you're self-employed and you're just wanting to pull in clients. Maybe you're thinking about freelancing and creating that side hustle and you want to draw new clients in. Your personal branding is what is going to help build that relationship and establish trust with that client. So it is important for them to be able to see that in all areas, and they're seeing something that's a consistent message. Right? Mm-hmm. Think about McDonald's and the Big Mac, and they claim that a Big Mac is a Big Mac anywhere in the world. It's going to taste the same. It's going to look the same. The only thing that may change is the packaging and the pricing. But otherwise, it's going to be that same thing. And you need to think about your personal brand that way. And when it comes specifically, again, to hiring, absolutely. When you think about going to work for the Googles and the Amazons of the world, let me just tell you, they have hundreds of people that are dedicated to sourcing. And those are folks that are strictly mining the internet all day long, looking for that X factor. But if you're wanting to do something on a smaller scale, maybe you want to work for a local private company, they don't have that kind of resources. You are oftentimes not even going through a recruiter, but directly to that hiring manager. And so you want to make sure that whatever brand you're creating, it's visible to those people. Again, it's consistent with anything you're giving them in paper form, like a resume if you apply online. And as my personal experience of 25 years of recruiting, hiring managers are out there pounding the internet themselves. They are out there mining and looking for candidates, and oftentimes they will bring candidates to me. They're not just waiting for people to apply anymore.
Oh,
So they're out there, they're checking LinkedIn, they're working through their professional networking and groups, meetups, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, even. There's so many different platforms now where you can really leverage that personal brand. And trust me, if they're not looking for it in regards to a specific job, they're definitely using those platforms. And I have seen instances where someone has had an inconsistency in what they presented in person, what they presented on paper, and then what was posted on their Twitter account. And they missed out on an opportunity for a job because their brand was not consistent all the way through. And ultimately, what they put out into their Twitter was not consistent with the values of the company.
wow. So you mentioned LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has always been linked, I guess, to your professional side, not your kind of your social side. So
Absolutely.
how important is to make sure that your LinkedIn is up to par and I guess have all the element? What will make your profile on LinkedIn stand out?
It's a great question. And I definitely want to preface this by saying I think it's very subjective, right? Every talent expert is going to tell you a different thing because we all have different things that we look for. But again, I think the key here is up to date current information. You need to be active. You should have an updated status. If you are job seeking, whether that is continuing to the next level in your current career or making a pivot 100% into something brand new, say that clearly in your statement. Let people know that you're open to conversation, that you're looking. So make sure that one, you have a profile picture. This is especially important in today's age where diversity and inclusion is at the top of everyone's mind. You also want to make sure that you are presenting yourself consistently with your objective or what you are seeking, and that ties back to those personal brands. You want to make sure that you have contact information that your first level, second level, third level connections can see. If you want everyone to see it and you are actively job seeking, it's a great idea to create an email specifically for job searching. And it needs to be professional. You know, it needs to be first name, last name at blah.com. And what you want to do is advertise that so that people know how to get in touch with you, even if they're not a level connection, that they could connect directly. You also want to make sure that your profile is visible and it's turned on to let people know that you, again, are open for that conversation, that you're active. In terms of the content that you actually put into your LinkedIn, obviously you want to have really current information. You want to have your current job, your job title, your city and location. You want to keep that as up to date as possible. And again, use your kind of summary area to state the things that can't be seen in the chronological order of employment. Are you open to relocating? Are you looking to work globally? Do you already currently work from home or remotely and you're seeking those type of opportunities? You just really, again, LinkedIn is a visual medium, and it is important because there's millions and millions of users. And again, thinking about employment, the smaller companies, the more private companies that have really great job opportunities but don't have large staffs for recruiting and sourcing to find you, these are the type of resources that they're going to, because LinkedIn is predominantly free for searching. And there's thousands and millions of users, and it's a great way to stay connected.
Okay. Staying with LinkedIn, what is I guess a no-no or something that a mistake that people you see do that they shouldn't do on LinkedIn? Because like for me, I see some people um like their picture is like they on a beach or something like that, and then put LinkedIn as normally linked to your business side. So I would think something like that would probably not be the professional look,
Mm-hmm.
just the main thing that you've noticed that I guess is a no-no that people should not do on LinkedIn.
Yep. So when it comes to photos, I'm really of the mindset it's you, right? And you need to be your true self. You need to be authentic. And there's nothing wrong with showing your personality. And there's nothing wrong with showing things of interest. Now, that being said, I don't know that I would have a photo out there with my children or my family or anything that might allow somebody to create some bias automatically by looking at my profile. But I still want to be myself. I still want to be authentic about it. And again, I think one of the biggest things is having a profile that's hidden or turned off so that it's not searchable. People could not find you. Not having good, up-to-date, current contact information, or having an email address that's not necessarily professional, and not having up-to-date information. Because if I find you and I'm looking for something specific and I see that that was on your resume 10 years ago, but you haven't updated anything since then, the chances that I'm going to call you are very, very slim compared to someone that's a more active user. So even if you're not necessarily updating information, log in once a week.
Gotcha. Now let me ask you about this endorsement, because someone hit me up for an endorsement on LinkedIn, but I don't know them. I know them, but I don't know them. We've never worked together. We've
Absolutely.
served on a board, but that's the only interaction that we've had. So I was like, I don't feel comfortable giving you an endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do hiring managers actually look at those things?
Again, I think that's something that's really subjective to the individual. What I would tell you is always operate under the assumption of yes. If it's out there and it's visible, people are going to see it. How much weight they put on what they're seeing is few and far between, right? That's just dependent on that particular individual. One thing I do want to address about endorsements, because I know I've been guilty of this myself. Ever since endorsements started, one of the algorithms on LinkedIn, if you're looking for a new job and you're going to apply for it, let's say that algorithm pulls out like 5 or 10 key things about that job, and you only have 3 of those in your endorsements. It's going to call that out when you go to apply for the job. That's a buzzkill, right? That's a confidence killer right there. If you look up in that corner and you see where it says you only meet 3 of the 10 things here, that is all driven, as far as I'm aware, off of that endorsement piece. And you may have those other skills, but it kind of comes up, it's kind of large. And again, it's a confidence killer right away, especially if you're looking at an opportunity that's a stretch position, right? It may be that next level for you, and you're trying to extend yourself into doing a little bit more, or you're applying for a job that you may not meet all the criteria of, but you're so close, right? That's what we kind of call those stretch positions. And so it's a confidence killer. I do believe that you can turn that area off of your LinkedIn profile. And quite honestly, I don't know that I would be opposed to recommending somebody do that. But I do think it is also important, if you are the person with the profile, that you get solid endorsements from your clients, from your coworkers, from your direct management, because those are where, as a hiring professional, I would put my weight.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I want to know what other people are saying about you verbally versus clicking a button that says this person has these skills. But I do think you make an excellent point of, don't ask for endorsements for someone that does not know you or your work. Because we all know that good news travels, but bad news travels faster.
Now that is true.
Yeah.
That is very true. So with COVID-19, we have moved into a new normal of virtual, what we was talking before. So now that we don't have so much face-to-face engagement, what are some of the things that we can do to enhance our personal brand virtually?
Absolutely. I think it's making sure that you're out there. And again, there's so many different platforms to choose from. There is LinkedIn, there's Meetup, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, Etsy. Like, there's a million and one, read it, GitHub, right? Like, there's a million and one different places to create your profile. And I'm certainly of the mindset that you don't need to be on all of them. Other folks, when it comes to branding, they disagree. They think that the more places you are, the better. I do think that visibility is key, right? But obviously, especially right now, we talked about it before, you've got to lean into this social media because it is one of the fastest ways to get yourself out there. And it's also where everyone is going, since we can't be together. And so maybe consider some platforms that you're not currently on. Maybe consider the platforms that you're on from a personal perspective. I'm going to use Facebook as an example, where, hi, I'm Teresa Edwards, and this is my family, and this is where I connect with old coworkers and friends and folks I went to high school with and my family. But you haven't thought about branding Teresa Edwards, the author, or Teresa Edwards, the videographer, and so you might create a page that's kind of separate from your personal identity. They're dedicated to your professional. Also, one thing that's really important to kind of keep in mind in the age of social is, what are you doing with this time? Because one thing that hiring managers say to me over and over again, when we talk about, all right, I'm reviewing resumes, I'm looking at applicants, I'm out there sourcing and looking for people online. When I get a candidate or a potential candidate engaged, what are some of the things you really want me to find out about that person? And one of the number one questions hiring managers tell me over and over again, especially in the technology space, what are they doing in their free time? What are they tinkering with? And so one thing that I would say is, show that, right? What are you tinkering with, and what are you doing to increase your brand? A lot of things that you can be doing, especially if you want to engage in a space you've never been in. If one of your unique gifts is bringing information and content to the world, maybe you consider starting a podcast. I don't know the numbers, right? But I would absolutely put money on the fact that the podcast population, in terms of content creators, actual producers of podcasts, has probably doubled during COVID. I would stand to put money on that number. I don't know it specifically, but think about things like, can you use that unique gift to teach an online course? Can you be a subject matter expert that's invited to speak on things like this? Um, could you create a coursework? Could you volunteer for different organizations? And so, what are some of the ways that you can be putting yourself out there in that space to further establish yourself and your brand as synonymous with this service?
Wow, that was some tea right there. I wouldn't have known that managers want to know what you're doing on your personal time. But it makes sense though. It really makes
Absolutely.
sense. It makes
Well, we've been blurring the lines of work life for a really long time. And it really makes me nauseous to hear the term work-life balance, because it's really hard to create. And very few of us actually do it successfully. We are in an age where something is in our hand and in our face. We're in front of a screen literally more and more and more and more and more. And most of us go to bed with our cell phones, right? So, or a tablet or a Nook or Kindle, something is right there in front of us, and we're constantly absorbing content. And it makes it really hard to turn off that switch between work and life. And so it is just about creating balance, period. And that's another piece that I think is really key when you're thinking about your personal brand, that you need to do for yourself. One is give yourself time to rest and give yourself grace. You're not going to get it right your first time out of the gate. You're going to need to constantly be tweaking and aligning until you really get down to that niche audience that you're wanting to reach. And you're going to want to ask for feedback. And it's not all going to be positive, and it shouldn't all be positive, because you can't grow and improve if everybody's giving you an attaboy and patting you on the back. You want solid, true feedback. Yes, ask your friends. Yes, ask your family, but go to your mentors. Go to people that you consider subject matter experts in your field or whatever your unique talent is, and ask their opinions, and then incorporate those into your brand for what makes you comfortable.
Okay, got it. Okay. So, and again, we're in the virtual world. What are some tips for your resume that people might not know? Because things are done a little bit differently today than it was just a couple of months ago. So, do you have tips for folks?
Absolutely. So the biggest no-no that I see on resumes day after day after day is no contact information. There's the name and there's no information. And honestly, I think that people are really nervous. Really, you wouldn't believe it. Probably 1 out of 10. There's no contact info. There may be a name, there may be an address, but there's no phone number. There's no email. And those are really the number one biggest thing that I see. You want to make sure that you have your information prominently displayed at the top. Here's my name. Here's my address. Here's how to contact me. And I think one of the reasons people are getting away from it is because we either want to work remotely, or we think we're outsmarting the system because we live in Colorado, but we're applying for a job in California. And the job doesn't offer relocation, or it says local candidates only. Guess what? There's a beautiful thing called Google Voice, and you can apply for a phone number with an area code in that state.
Oh.
Do that.
Okay.
If your grandma lives in California, use grandma's address. There are ways to beat the system, but still providing information, right? And also, I just want to caution people, don't be afraid to have a phone number with a different area code, because most people understand the fact that people are so transient. They're moving all the time. No one wants to change their cell phone. And so it is not unusual to have a job search in a particular city. I'm looking at all the resumes of people that have applied to it. Let's say I have 15 applicants. I probably have 15 different zip codes, 15 different area codes. It's not that big of a deal anymore. If we're interested in you, we're going to call you and ask the question.
Got it.
Can
Okay.
you relocate? Right? It's pretty simple, but I do get why people don't want to do that. I also think that having, again, a clearly defined objective of what you want to do. Again, you should have various, you should have a solid core framework of your resume, and then you should have variations of that for the type of work that you want to be doing. If you're looking for remote work, your resume is going to read a little bit differently. If you are looking for consulting jobs, your resume is going to look a little bit different. If you are looking for full-time employment or part-time employment, your resume is going to look a little bit different. So it all depends on the job you're applying for. But the biggest thing that you can do, have that contact information, have a clear statement about where you want to work, why you want to work. If you do have social accounts, share them. Especially if you are a content creator, if you're any kind of creative and also technical now, have your GitHub link right on the resume. Have your LinkedIn profile link right on the resume. Have a link to your portfolio or your Vimeo account, whatever it is, have that available so that you're providing it right up front. You're actually inviting folks to come into that brand. Come see me. Come see what I can do for you. Look at what I've created. And that's really, really important, because the more we have to go look for, the more you're kind of losing us through the process.
Gotcha. Now, I do have a quick question. Is it okay to put your picture? Because I've seen some resumes with a picture on there and some without. Is that one of those subjective things again?
So it's definitely subjective. I think it's one thing if you're applying to be a model, right? If you want to be a model, obviously your headshot is your brand. It is your resume. Same thing if you're on-air talent, you want to do a specific job that is absolutely dependent on appearance. But what I will say, for me personally as a recruiter, but also as a job seeker in the past with 25 years of experience, a resume is prime real estate. Do I really want to take up any of that space with my photo? Not necessarily for me. But again, I do think it's a personal choice. But personally, I would rather you use that space to tell me something about yourself, tell me about your experience and why it fits for this role, than I would to see a photo.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned something about being different for when you want to work remote or, in a virtual, a job.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give some tips on anything as far as to make that where you can stand out if you want to work remotely, because now I guess it's where we're going now with COVID. COVID has made it, I guess, a good awareness that people can work remote and still be productive.
100%. I think I've seen so many kind of brick and mortar offices that have actually gone 100% remote. They're giving up their real estate, right? because they are seeing that their workforce can be so productive remotely. What I will tell you is that even though it is kind of a new state of normal for people, remote work has been around for years. And there are some really great websites out there like Flex Jobs and Upwork and companies like that that offer opportunities. Now, some of them are going to require that you register, that you upload a resume, that you pay in some instances. And one thing that I do think is important for people to understand, there is a difference between telework and remote work in many instances. So, teleworking generally means that you are working remotely, but there's usually some kind of expectation that you come into an office at some point in time. And so you just want to make sure that when you are looking for job opportunities, you're just kind of aware of the semantics of how the job's advertised. And if you have questions, ask that employer. The second thing is on your resume, even if you are working half a day, 1 day a week from home, make sure that's highlighted on your resume. Let people know that you are set up in a remote environment with everything that you need to work from home. Let them know that you have experience working remotely, right? Again, you just want to add in, a bullet point. You could say this position was 100% remote, or this position was work from home 3 days a week. But you want to have something in that resume that really speaks to the fact that you have experience and your past employers have trusted you and you've been successful working in that type of environment, because it is certainly not for everyone.
Agreed. Now, you said something about pay. Is that the pay to have to be a subscriber to that?
Absolutely.
Got
Yep. There's definitely some out there that will require like a small subscription fee for you to use their site. What I would tell you is that there's ways to be resourceful, and you can actually view a lot of jobs on Flex Jobs. And if you're careful enough, you can get some keywords out of that to then go into a Google search and actually maybe try to find that or cross-reference that job against something free like an Indeed, and may find that particular opportunity. Also, using keywords is really helpful as well. If you are looking for opportunities, look for words like freelance, project, consultant, flexible schedule, again, teleworking, telecommuting. Those are some really good tips when you are job searching. One thing that I do kind of want to maybe spill a little bit of tea about again is something that a lot of folks may not know, which is, again, using the example of Colorado and California. Okay. Let's say that you are in Colorado, you want to continue to live in Colorado, but you want to work for a company that is based in California. If that is that company's only location, they may not have tax codes set up in the state of Colorado. So as much as they would love to have you as a remote employee, as much as you think that customer service manager job could be done remotely from Colorado, it may be a no. And I think a lot of times as job seekers, when we hear no, we internalize it. We want to think it was something on my resume. It was something I did wrong. It could be something as simple as they are not set up to pay you in that particular state.
Wow, I did
And
not
so
know
there's
that. That
absolutely, see, another little snippet from inside. There are reasons that companies cannot offer you that remote opportunity.
wow, I would have never thought about the pay or the tax stuff for that state. So interesting. Now that's
Absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely. But another little tip, when you are negotiating compensation, let's say you are in Colorado. Again, the job is in California. There's probably anywhere from a 10 to 20% margin on cost of living between those cities. Negotiate your compensation somewhere in the middle. They're going to want to try to pay you Colorado pricing because it is a cost savings to the company, because they wouldn't have to pay you the same amount of money as they would in California. But know that going in and negotiate your salary accordingly.
We'll have to bring you back to talk about some negotiating some salaries here.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about closing the deal.
Ah, part two. Part two. All right. So to round out part one, are there any other final thoughts from you?
Well, I do have a couple of tips and resources that I definitely wanted to share with your audience today. And that is, again, Google is really your best friend when it comes to a personal brand. There are so many fantastic courses that are out there being offered, especially during this case of COVID and quarantine time. There are some actual courses that you can sign up for. Some are free and some are paid. One of them that I highly recommend is called Remote Work 101. And that is a paid course. You definitely take the course as your own, but it is very robust, great material, and it is exceptional material for someone that is wanting to work 100% remotely and has maybe never done it and hasn't gotten into it. There was a branding summit that actually took place this week by Jamila Ranister, who put together an incredible daily um, um, roster of presenters who just had some jam-packed content every day, phenomenal content about building personal brand. If you are a creative, and that could be anything from, developer even into graphic designer. Maybe you are a person that is an author, or you're some type of content creator. If you don't belong to a group called Creative Mornings, you need to. If there's not one in your city, join one that is close by. Creative Mornings has been doing a fantastic job of having virtual field trips. And they have had many folks come in and actually speak on personal branding, but they have also had great courses like how to create a podcast, how to create your own business, mindfulness. I did one where I actually had Reiki therapy and a Reiki experience, which was very cool. They've done breathworks classes. They've done courses on new technologies that are coming out in a specific creative space. And so those are great ways to learn and expand your knowledge on how to build your personal brand, or just expand your mind and your experience. It's also a great way to get connected if you're someone that wants to create that type of content, or if you have a unique talent or gift that you want to offer out there. And all of those field trips are 100% free.
Free, I like that. And
We
get some
love
information.
free, right? We love free, but don't get me wrong, there is some great paid content as well that is definitely worth investing in. And I think that there's a lot out there. There is a lot to ingest. And so as you're taking these next steps to either create your personal brand from scratch, or maybe elevate and expand your reach of your current personal brand, just remember to rest, give yourself some downtime, and and to give yourself grace, because you're going to mess up. It's not going to be perfect. Um, you're not always going to be in the right area. There's a ton and ton and ton of data and material and content out there to consume. Everyone's got a different take and a different opinion. You take those little nuggets that fit you and just do you.
I like that. Take the nuggets and do you. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that. Well, that was a lot packed into just this little bit of time, but a lot I guess, ingest and move forward. And I'm looking forward to part 2, talking about that the negotiation and closing that deal.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for, spending time with us, giving us some of these nuggets. And I appreciate you, girl.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Man, she gave us some great information about our personal branding. So to recap, here are some important points. Decide on who you are and how you want to be represented. Get on social media and be consistent with your representation. Because everyone is watching, make sure your resume has contact information. Engage and be engaging. If you have any questions for Amy, send me an email at info@terradoneent.com. Again, that's info@terradoneent.com. She'll make a video answering your questions. And again, stay tuned for part 2 of this 5-part series, Resume and Job Search. So until next time, be safe. Salute.